All right, everybody. It is Wednesday, October 14th. We are deep into the hearts of fall, and now we're going to talk about something that I think is very important. It's about finding balance in life. How do you balance family, work, friends, all the things that are going on as we are focused on helping make this the best fourth quarter ever, but we know that a burnout never helps anyone. We're going to be talking about that and just a little bit more here on the High Five. Let's get going.
The time has come, the questions are said, opinions hide, discussions are led, a show about nothing and everything, it's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The High Five.
All right, everybody. It's not just me here today, but over on I'll need to center that up a little bit. I'll take care of that here in a second. Let me go full screen. Mr. Brian Linke, how are you, sir? He is serving us here in the Pay Protect Nation. How are you, Brian?
I'm great, Nate. Thanks for asking. I wish somebody would pay the heat bill in here so I wouldn't be freezing to death. But other than that, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks.
Oh, it's that time of year where you don't know. You need the air conditioning in the afternoon and the heat in the morning, and you're trying to figure it all out.
Okay, my fingers are numb.
Well, hey, get some gloves.
I hear you.
All right. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of balance. I need to fix this two-shot here. Let me do that. I'm going to do this on the fly. You're going to see how I do this when I can pull it up and look at my screen here. And Brian and I are doing this without our illustrious partner, Mr. Danny Shard, who is going to be off this week on Wednesday and Friday. And then Brian's going to be off next week as we balance life and family. And
very exciting day today for the Shard family as we welcome the Shard baby in this afternoon later today.
Yes, so we are all waiting news as when the Shard baby comes in, and so we're excited about that. Danny and Caitlin, I know, are excited, and Bodie is, I'm sure, excited as much as you can be to get that new sibling in your family. And Brian, but one of the things, it's a perfect discussion point, because what I wanted to talk about was, I was talking to a partner late last week who was getting a little overstressed and I could tell was on that road to burnout. And where you are just like, I can't balance family, I can't get all the things done for my kids, and we've all been there. And when you're pushing hard and you have a goal and you are driving toward it, you also have to balance life. And Brian, I thought there was no one better to talk about this than you, because you've been through lots of stages of this. And I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to guess when you were 22, I think that's when you moved to New York and you were starting your first sales job.
Yeah.
Balance wasn't something you were thinking all that much about back then. Is that correct?
If there was a light on in the office, I was in there trying to pitch long distance service. So yeah, no, my life obviously was a little bit different then than it is today, for sure.
So what I'm interested in is, when was the first time you remember first thinking about balance and like making a decision, I could go after this, I could do this, but I need to do this for my family, or I need to do this just for my personal health and well-being? When was that first time? When do you remember like a first time in your life when you started thinking about that?
Yeah, I do. And, it's obviously when my firstborn was born. Before that, my wife has her career and I had my career, and I was a sales guy from day one. And to this day, I was trained by maybe the best salesperson in the world. I've lost touch with him, but his name is Jim Daly, not the mayor of Chicago, the ex-mayor. But and this guy, he taught me just what to do, how to do it, how to balance everything. So yeah, it was now again, but in today's day, and I hate to say it, but it's much easier today than it was then. And for obvious reasons, right? I mean, you can basically do your job in your car. You can do your job on your phone if you had to. So things are just a little bit different now than they were then. But we can talk about that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to guess, again, Brian and I didn't talk about this ahead of time, that there were a few priorities that trumped work at a time. I'm going to guess when you were 22, 23, 24, living in New York City, that probably a Florida State football game probably trumped the few hours of working, and you were working those Saturdays. What other priorities were there that you're like, you know what, I'm not going to work for these hours, go into the office or go into other offices because this is anything beyond Florida State football?
Well, I actually know. If you really want to know. But again, I was trained by a guy, and he was just heads down, work, from get to the office at 8:00, leave at 6:00. Take time out, to eat a little bit during the day, but yeah, it was 8 to 6. But he also knew how to have a lot of fun afterwards. And we were in New York City, and it was the mid '80s, and it was a really good time to be in New York. There was a lot to do. COVID obviously wasn't even something.
Very different world there. Yeah.
So we went hard all day long, but we also went hard after work. But I didn't have a whole lot of responsibility at the time, so I was able to do it.
So what were the things that drove you when you start seeing the change in yourself, where you start setting some different priorities, taking care of different things, and then we can talk about the change that has happened now, that we can work all the time, and we just almost have to force ourselves to not, because I just responded to a text message while you were talking. There's
Right.
all this multitasking that we can do.
Right.
But do you remember was there a sale that you gave up for your kids or for your wife at some point that you were like, you made a conscious decision, I'm not going to go after this sale because I need to do this. This is more important.
You know what? That's a great question. And I will be honest with you and answer this honestly. And the answer is no.
Okay.
I don't think. Now, I will tell you this. I had a lot of help in either delegating, because I had some CSRs that worked for me, or just asking for favors if I had to be somewhere. But I will tell you that once my kids were born, especially my older child, because my kids are 6 years apart. Once he was born, and once we started getting into school stuff and sports, and he was extremely athletic and played all the way through high school, both football and basketball. And so yeah, I gave up. I will tell you this: what I didn't do, that I do a lot of, or I did a lot of at PayProtect before the COVID, is I do a lot of traveling here. We do our stuff in Vegas and out in Palm Springs, and Nate, you and I were in Boston and Houston, Atlanta. So I did a lot of that back then when my kids were playing sports. Those are the kinds of things that every trip and there were a lot of them, that we had, everything revolved around seeing my son play. I coached a lot of those teams. Matter of fact, I coached just about all of them. So everything revolved around that, because I used to tell people in my office, those are the things that you will never get back. I mean, again, we are all salespeople. We are all money hungry, right? We are all, greedy, if you will, to a point. But as far as dealing with, things with your kids, and Nate, you're a role model for it, because, with your 4, I know you spend a lot of time, and I know you've had to leave things to get there. And I have a lot of respect for that, because those are not things that are easy to do. And again, it definitely, takes precedent over, work at times. But, again, today's day, we can, if we want to fast forward all the way to today, where everything is at your fingertips, it obviously makes things a little bit easier, or a lot easier than it was back in the mid '80s.
Well, and I think, it's about that balance of the word said. Like, I'll think that earlier this year, back when we were traveling, you mentioned we were in Boston. I left early that trip to be back to be able to watch my daughter at her swim sectionals. And, you know, so I took an early morning flight, which anybody who knows me knows I hate early mornings. I forced everything I could possibly can into meetings and walking the show floor at that show and interacting with our partners and hanging out, and was up late that night and, you know, on the plane at 6 a.m. and in bed at 1 a.m. I don't know that I slept. And you make those decisions to create that balance. And sometimes that balance doesn't mean I'm getting more rest or I'm getting relaxation. Sometimes it means I'm even more tired. Now, are there times when it comes to balance and like not overdoing it? Because I also, thinking back to that trip, that's also when I got COVID from that trip to Boston, came back, started feeling sick that Saturday night. 6 weeks later, I got tested and had antibodies for COVID, and we look back and go, oh yeah, I was in Boston. That's where I got that.
We were there right before the whole pandemic, right?
Yeah, it was, I mean, like literally it was coming into Boston, and you started seeing the reports like 2 weeks later, and I was like,
right.
And then when I put all the pieces together and then I was able to get an antibody test, I was like, oh, that's how that worked. But thinking also, that was my, you know, there are times where your body can get I just thought I was exhausted because I'd been working really hard, doing a lot of 18-hour days. We had been multiple places, and I just thought I was overexhausted. Do you have a tipping point in your mind where you're like, okay, I just can't push my body anymore? Because that changes obviously as from you're younger to older, and you have to learn to listen to your body.
Right.
But for you, how do you find and know when you're going to hit that tipping point where it's not just balance of life and family, but it's also, I just need some downtime. I need to make sure I can get extra sleep, taking care of my body. Do you know how do you read the tea leaves for your body?
Well, you know, the thing is, again, as you get older, your body becomes a lot more tired, right? I mean, you know, I find myself getting tired a lot faster than I used to. You know, I used to have just the most amazing energy of anybody. You know, I get to the office at 8. You know, I wouldn't stop cold calling literally until 6. You know, I throw down a couple of soubrettes on the corner, and you know, I'm back at it. And again, I was trained by a guy, and you know, maybe that was it, is the fact that I was, you know, I kind of like you know, latched onto a guy. You know, we had a lot in common, sports. You know, he was engaged, I was getting married, and so we had a lot of things in common. But he also was very driven. You know, I remember there was a sales contest literally within the first 2 months that I was hired, and to Cozumel, and he's like, okay, you know what, we're winning this. And we did. And I'll never forget, we're sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and, you know, both of my parents are Harvard graduates. And I looked up, and I looked at my dad, who's like, you know, work, you know, Harvard, right? You know, he used to yell at me for getting off an airplane without a sport coat on. But I looked at him, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Cancun next week, or Cozumel next week. And he looks at me, he said, what are you, you know, and hey, you know what? I won a sales contest. You know, it was a 3-month contest, and I won it. And, you know, again, I was trained by a guy who was very driven, money, but he also knew when to go hard. Now, I don't think I could do that today. I just think that you know, I'm just older now, and, you know, I look forward to maybe taking a nap on a Saturday afternoon before college football started. But, you know, I just think you just have to read your body. But I will tell you this, you know, when it comes to your kids and when it comes to your family, and Nate, again, I have a lot of respect for you when it comes to this, because you're just like me. You know, you'll never be able to get that time back. You'll never be able to do it. So, you know what? Take a step back, right? Organize yourself, figure out what works, the balance in your life. And again, you know, now we're in this middle of this pandemic where nobody's going anywhere. So there's no better time, I think, than right now to figure it out. Put together a plan, an Excel spreadsheet if you have to, and just figure out like what is important in your life. Put it down on a piece of paper if you have to, and stick to that plan. And I think everything in your life will start making more sense. I think, you know, it'll just, you know, your business life, your family life, you know, the things with your kids. I just think that once you put together, and I'm a big plan guy, right? I like a routine. And I've gotten a lot better as far as like, okay, you know, obviously when you have a plan, sometimes that plan doesn't always happen, right? I mean, sometimes we plan something out and you get thrown a curveball. Well, you know what? You got to step in there and hit it. And redo the plan. But I think, especially in today's day when you have everything at your fingertips and everything's easier, this is a great time to put down on a piece of paper and map it out. Exercise is a big thing for me. So if I don't get up at 5:30 in the morning and get to the Y or get downstairs in my basement, get on the elliptical or get on the machines or whatever I do, I feel like my day hasn't. I haven't accomplished anything. So it's gotten to a point with me where, and I'm a 30 to 40 minute guy when I work out. I'm not a 3-hour guy. I'm not a 2-hour guy. I'm not even a 1-hour guy. And the reason that I'm not that guy is because I know that if I do it for an hour or 2, yeah, sure. You know what? I'll get there for a week, maybe 2, maybe a month, maybe 2 months. But after a while, I'll start dreading it, right? I'll start dreading being there for an hour, being downstairs for an hour or 2 hours. So 30 to 40 minutes every single day because I know that I can do it. So I've balanced my life. Yeah, sure. Getting up at 5:30 in the morning, it sucks. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I do it, and I do it for a reason. I also know that, you know what, after work, when I walk out of here at 6:30 at night, I'm too tired. I'm just not going to be able to do it. So if I don't get to the gym in the mornings, I just know that I'm not going to do it. And that goes for, spending time with your family, spending time with your kids, because again, and I think PayProTech really does a good job as far as making sure that our employees have that time, because again, you'll never get it back.
That's so true. I mean, these are absolutely times that we're not going to get it back. What I wonder, Brian, is, when you were going to Cozumel back a few years ago, that you didn't, there was no work that could be done in Cozumel. Maybe a little bit, maybe you're going to sell to the hotel that you're staying.
No,
in.
There was no work.
But
there was no work.
But now the work follows us. Your oldest son is getting married next week. Work could follow you. I know that it won't fully. That emergency happens, Brian Linke jumps in, but that he will focus on his family. How do you balance that now? Because it's a huge advantage that we can get work done anywhere, but it's also it's hard we have to force ourselves to unplug. How do you handle that?
Sales is a crazy thing, right? Because you're right, Nate. I'm going to California next week, but I have made myself. I'm going to take myself off of Ring Central, so I don't get the calls that are rolling over, which is hard for me to do because if the phone rings, I'm answering it, right? And if I'm on the phone and I see somebody is called, I call them back. Work does follow you, and that is a big difference, right? Back in the mid '80s, in order to find out what was going on, I used to have to go to a payphone, stick a bunch of quarters in it, and call my office and get my messages. People. Today, the majority of the people that are on this call had no idea what I'm even talking about. But no, and again, Danny Shard, I'll give a shout out to Danny because he makes me better. And he also makes me realize that, like, okay, you know what, you're at a point in your life where, let's go out to California, spend time with your family. We're all going to be together. It's a little bit of a weird thing because of this COVID thing, because we were supposed to have this 300-person wedding. Now it's down to, 12 or 50, whatever it is. We're going to have a big party in Dallas once this thing is over with, but which is where her family's from. But I'm making it a point to put the phone down. And sure, you know what? Do I check my emails? I'm not above that, right? I will check my emails. I will respond to certain emails. But, again, we have a really, really, and I'm very fortunate, and I will tell you, we have a great team here. I'm on a great team at PayProTech. I mean, I've got Danny Shard, I've got Nate Manahan, I've got Jason Lee Cook, I've got Jenny Reichel, I've got Pamela Bailey, I've got Jennifer Sales, and all the people, Billy West, Tim Callahan, I mean, everybody down the line. So if I need something, I can, send them a quick text. I'm not above doing that. Now, on the day that he's getting married, am I gonna I'm probably gonna, the phone's probably gonna stay in the room, or obviously it's gonna be off or something like that. But again, today, get yourself around good people, and rely on those people and trust those people to help you. And I think if you do that, you'll sleep better at night. I sleep better at night now than I ever have, just because, again, the people that are listening, we get paid on a residual, right? A residual, it's an unbelievable thing, right? You get out of bed in the morning and you're getting, you're going to get a paycheck, right? Whereas back in the day, you know what, when September 30th came, Brian Lickey's name was on the top of the board. The next day you'd walk in the office and there is no board, right? Everything's gone and we had to start over again. So yeah, you go to Cozumel, that's a week away from, selling and making money for myself and my family. Today, obviously, it's a little bit different. And again, in this industry, and at PayProTech, we pay a lifetime residual. It's awesome.
Well, and I think that's what can drive us often, Brian, is that, hey, this is our goal. This is what we want to do. We want to build that lifetime residual. And then we want to find balance and set those goals, like you said earlier. We want to set family goals. We want to set business goals. And for me, I also try to find rhythms, and it's different seasons of life. When my kids are in active sports season, it's a different rhythm. I know that I'm going to have to hit those events. And so I got to think and plan ahead. Like right now, none of my kids are in active sports season for another couple of weeks. Swimming season starts in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And so right now my rhythm is Tuesdays, I pick the kids up from school. Tuesdays, that I'm going to cut out early, and I'm hanging out with the kids and playing Xbox last night, and it was family night on Tuesday nights. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I hit it really, really hard. Then the weekend, it'll break down, and I find those rhythms that I can do. And everybody's life is different. There's not one way that fits all. Brian, as we close up, how would you challenge our sales partners, the sales professionals we work with, and the different stages of life, really, it's not one size fits all, to find balance in their life, and how that will help them if they find that balance to find ultimate success?
You use the word rhythm. I use the word routine, right? Same thing, right? Where we get to a point where, I know that I'm waking up in the morning and I'm working out, and I know that I'm getting to the office by, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I know that I'm going to be here till 6:30, but, and I yell at Pam and Jen all the time, to get out of the office and, go get yourself a sandwich and, because it's just not healthy, I don't think, to stay in the office. Again, we live in a time where, you're never away just because, your cell phone and, people can get a hold of you whenever. But yeah, no, a routine is key. A plan is key. A plan ahead of the routine is key, especially in sales, because again, right. We are all driven. We are all money driven, career driven. Like we talked about, Nate, and again, I have a lot of respect for you. Tuesday nights, you're with your kids, you're playing Xbox, you're doing that because you make time to do that. I actually yelled at an agent this summer. He called me on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm sitting at my pool drinking a beer, and I yelled, and I was like, dude, okay, whatever you have to say to me right now. And I answered the phone. I answered the phone because I had my sunglasses on. I couldn't see who it was, and I thought for sure it was one of my kids. But I just told him, I'm like, dude, you have to balance yourself. There's no reason to be calling me on a Sunday afternoon for something that I can deal with at 8:30 on a Monday morning, right? So he, hopefully he learned from that, because I kind of snapped at him that, that wasn't the right thing. I get it, and everybody is, driven, but there has to be some time for yourself. Life is this is a short ride, man. And, if you're not going to enjoy yourself, if you're not going to, spend time with your family and your kids, you're just missing out.
Oh, you're so right. I think, as we close up today, Brian, it's about finding that balance. That's the word I've been using this whole time. But Brian was talking about, you've been saying, hey, you've got to have the right people in your life. You've got to make sure that you set the right goals, and you've got to also set the priorities where you can go. You're going to find that routine, that rhythm that makes it right. And you've got to have people that'll call you out, because let's be honest, we all will make, I'm not going to say the wrong decision, but the not prudent decision at times, because we're fighting for both things and we're torn so many different directions, and we need people to come in and speak to us.
That's a great point. And again, and I know we're closing up here, but I've always had people in my life to push me. And now here at Paper Tech, I've got a guy who's 20, 30 years younger than I. Danny Shard is just a great. He's a mentor for me. I mean, he again, his life is balanced. He's having a baby today. He's got a 3-year-old at home. He's got a beautiful wife who understands completely what's going on. But let me tell you something. I mess up, or I don't call somebody that I'm supposed to call, or send them. Trust me, Danny Shard is on me, and those people are the people you want to surround yourself with, because if you surround yourself with good people, good things happen.
Oh, that's so true. And that's why we say often 5 with Danny. That's all you need, right?
Absolutely. That's all you need.
All you need. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Hope you've learned a little bit and thought a little bit. This was a little more introspective. We're going to be talking POS on Friday. And specifically, I've already heard some stories of people having great success with our 4th quarter promotion. So we're going to start bringing those stories out on Friday. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We say high five to everybody. We will see you on Friday at 10:10 a.m. Have a great one, everybody.